and welcome to Coffee with Cal. My name is Sheila and I am the Study Abroad Coordinator at Learn International. With us today we have Kara, who is a Study Abroad alum and is here to share her story about her time overseas. Kara, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's nice and sunny outside, so doing good today.
Good, it looks nice outside. We appreciate your time here. We're very excited to hear about your time abroad. For those of you who are unaware, Kyle is our Learn International mascot who travels everywhere we go. Coffee with Kyle podcast aims to capture and share study abroad stories from students as well as international professionals. And like I said today, Kara is here to tell her story abroad. Kara, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Kara Stewart. I just graduated from Emory Henry College in Emory, Virginia. I was a sociology and civic innovation major, so lots of nonprofit work, lots of work with people. Yeah.
Good. Can you tell us about what program you did overseas?
Right. So I did the Dublin City University International Summer Program.
Okay.
We have tuition exchange through our college. So Emory used to have a program. It was called the Holston to Liffey program, and because of some complications there, they sent myself along with two other students to the Dublin City University International Summer Program through Learn International. So I went for the entire month of June in 2019.
Okay, great. For me, whenever I go overseas, I like to compare and contrast my time to what I am, who I am when I'm in the new country compared to what I am and what I'm like back home. Could you do a little bit of compare and contrasting to your life in Virginia to what your life was like in Ireland?
Absolutely. So this was only my second time studying abroad. I went to Costa Rica the year before this, and it was very similar to where I am in Virginia as well. But Ireland, before I went to Ireland, I took a course called Ireland through my major in civic innovation. And so we compared Appalachia and Appalachian culture to Irish culture in Ireland. So there are a lot of similarities that people, myself included, did not know. A lot of the stereotypes that we get, a lot of the landscaping, a lot of the cultural aspects, everything's very similar. Everything's very green. There's rural areas as well as city areas, but where I'm from, it's very rural. A lot of stereotypes associated with people who live in the countryside. So getting to see that in Ireland after learning about it and learning about the historical parts of it as well. Lots of violence, lots of war, and then similar to the United States as well as in Virginia. We got to see a lot of the historical aspects of that through museums, through different tours. And it was really interesting because you read it and you learn about it, you watch movies, but it doesn't really seem real until you step foot on the soil of the country and see just how similar the places are.
Interesting. So you did 3 weeks in Ireland. Did you see a lot of Ireland?
So I did 4, and yes, I saw a great deal of Ireland. I have a friend who is from Ireland, and he said that in the time I spent there, I saw more of Ireland than he had, and he'd lived there his whole life. So I was very blessed to be able to travel a lot through the excursions as well as weekend trips that I took with my friend that also came from Emory. So we saw the Cliffs of Moher. We went to, my favorite part was we traveled from Howth to Greystones to Bray. So there's a train ride that you can take all the way around from Dublin. And that was my absolute favorite part. I like to hike a lot. So very similar to here, lots of mountains, lots of hiking trails. But it was very interesting to see the differences in Bray. You go from the city and then you hike up the mountain and then you look at the beach. So that was very interesting because where I'm from in Virginia, it takes me 6 hours to get to the beach. Lots of mountains, lots of lakes and rivers and stuff. But going from sand to mountains to city all within 2 hours was very cool. We also took a trip to Northern Ireland and saw Giant's Causeway, toured the city there. We also went to the Blarney Castle, did a lot of the touristy things. I mean, I was there, we might as well do it. And it was really cool. And then we also went to, I'm trying to think, we took the first weekend that we were there, my friend and I hiked 15 miles the first day and 15 miles the second day.
Wow.
And really just tried to cover as much ground as possible because we had this great opportunity and we really wanted to get out as much as possible. So throughout the week, we kind of stayed in Dublin, ventured through the city. I don't have much experience in the city where I live. We don't have taxis or public transportation or anything like that. So living in a city was very different. It was very hard for me, but I think I learned a lot for independence and learning how to travel, or at least in public transportation. That was the first time I've ever taken a bus into a city, out of a city, or other than a school bus. So it was very interesting to see how public transportation is really a part of culture and life. That was one of the main differences that I saw from where I live as opposed to in Dublin.
Yeah, it sounds like you took a full advantage of the time that you had there. It sounds like you did a lot in Dublin during the week, and then you used the time on your weekends to just explore other parts of Ireland, which is great. I would love to hear about your time in Belfast.
So, living in Dublin, going to be honest, Dublin was hard just because it is the city. I'm a very laid back kind of person that likes to be in the mountains. So I was very excited to stay in the city. And then for one of the excursions through Learn, we took a trip to Belfast. So I was expecting kind of the same thing that I did in Dublin, just busy streets, busy city type thing. But when we got there, we took a tour with an ex-prisoner from the Troubles. So he had a tour bus, and he got released from prison. He was a political activist, and he got released from prison because of the Good Friday Agreement. So he's still a political activist for the Sinn Féin party, and took us around the city and a lot of the historical aspects with the Troubles and just the conflict in Northern Ireland. So he took us around the city and showed his perspective of the different neighborhoods, the different streets, and all of the history that went along with that. And a lot of that is still present. A lot of the times, we take down historical things that remind us of the past, and everything's pretty similar. Like they don't remove, there's still the walls, there's still a lot of the things that define that troubling time. And then I also have a friend that lives in Belfast, and I was able to meet up with him, and he's a unionist. So he took us on the completely other side of the tour and gave us his perspective of the city and the neighborhoods. And that was very interesting. For one, it's very, religion is very politicized.
Okay.
And I thought it was politicized in the United States, but it is nothing like that. It's nothing like what it is in Northern Ireland. It's 2020, and there's still walls separating neighborhoods that are Catholic and neighborhoods that are considered Protestant. He told me that, my friend told me that when he was 12, he accidentally got off the bus in the wrong neighborhood, and he was in a Catholic neighborhood, and he's Protestant, and he was not safe. He would drive me and say, I'm not safe here, I'm not safe here. And I just found that troubling, but also just, it's very interesting, because I think a lot of the times we think in the United States that, we have these barriers, we have these walls, but they literally have walls separating neighborhoods. And it's just part of their lives. It's part of their neighborhoods. Some people want them down, some people want them up, some people want them there to stay, to remind us of the past, to not go back to that again. And some people want to move forward and take them down. And, it was a little heartbreaking to me to see just how politicized religion is, because the way I understood it, being a Christian or being considered, Protestant or Catholic, it's not really about the religion or the spiritual aspect. It's about the politics about it. So if you are Sinn Féin, then this is how you vote. If you're a unionist, this is how you vote. And that is based on whether you're Catholic or Protestant. So to me, it was saddening, because as a Christian, we see a lot of persecution in other countries. We see a lot of conflict, even within the United States, which is a very, Christianized country. But just to see how separated it is, was very hard. Made me think a lot about how thankful I am to live in the United States, where religion is politicized, but not to that extent. But I loved Belfast. I actually preferred Belfast to Dublin, just because it was a little more spread out, probably because I had friends that live in Belfast, but I liked the city a little bit more. Seemed a lot easier to get around. I understood the streets a lot more. I'm very directionally challenged. So I liked Belfast because I felt like I knew where I was a little bit more than I did in Dublin.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I was in Dublin, I was able to go to church. And I went to a Protestant church. I'm not Catholic. So there was I don't want to say regular church, but a not Catholic church that was there. And I loved it. I thought it was very interesting. I come from a very big church in the United States. It's a multi-campus church. Thousands of people go to it, and this was a very low-key, intimate setting with people who just wanted to worship. And I went to a Catholic mass in Costa Rica, and that was the first Catholic mass I'd ever been to. It was all in Spanish, so it was very difficult for me to understand. But seeing the difference in structure of like a Catholic mass as opposed to a Protestant worship setting was very cool. I really enjoyed going to church. It made me put into perspective just the religious aspects, and that was in Dublin. So I can only imagine being in Belfast and seeing that as well.
It's very interesting to me. It seems like you had quite an experience just first in Belfast with your friend. Getting a local perspective, I feel like changes anybody's perspective on the
Absolutely.
country itself. And then also comparing and contrasting your experience in churches. I mean, you said you come from a larger church back home, and then comparing it to your experience in Ireland, the smaller venue, the smaller community. I'm not, maybe just the number of people in the mass at the time, but you said you prefer that more than your larger community back home.
Well, I wouldn't say I'd prefer, like
Okay.
I love my home church.
Yeah.
It's a big church, but we also have our small community that we feel included in. But it was just very different because I think I live in the Bible Belt of the United States. So there's a church every 4 miles. And it's nothing for people to go to church. It's just a way of life. And to me, it's more than nothing. Like, I mean, I go to church because I choose to go to church, and I like that. It's a personal choice that I make. But I feel like, especially in Belfast and in Dublin, I mean, if you go to a Protestant church, if you go, like, that's your choice, and it is important to you. A lot of the times in the United States, it's just going through the motions. We go to church on Sunday. We have youth group on Wednesday. It's just going through the motions. But, I mean, if you go to church in Ireland, I feel like it is important to you that you choose that and you make that decision, because you will face, I don't want to say persecution because it is a fluent place, but it's just very different. Church is very different. My friend, he went to school to be a pastor, and I remember him telling me that his professors tried to talk him out of it and was like, "Are you sure that this is what you want to do? Like, are you sure?" And I don't know many people in the United States that would really try to talk somebody out of going to seminary or anything related to that matter. But I mean, his professors tried to talk him out of it just because he knew how difficult it would be for his life.
Interesting.
So, yes, it was very interesting. I didn't feel not safe going to church or anything like that. It was just, I felt like people that were there genuinely wanted to be there and felt that it was important to them to be there.
Yeah, that's inspiring, especially if it's quite an experience to see it in a different culture setting. So appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Thank you. Yeah, it's very interesting. I also wanted to talk about you being a senior right now, or I mean, you just recently graduated, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to hear about your last semester, what it was like studying your undergraduate degree during COVID-19.
Well, I will say that it was definitely something. I think that our school handled it pretty well. Things escalated very quickly. I was supposed to go on another study abroad trip for spring break. I was supposed to go to Costa Rica again. And we were supposed to leave Friday, and Monday we were notified that they had canceled all study abroad for the remainder of the semester. This was, I want to say, like the March 13th week. And things had beginning to escalate. They had more cases in Costa Rica. They kind of rapidly grew overnight. And I kind of thought it was a little ridiculous at the moment just because there weren't that many cases in the United States or Costa Rica. But then by that Friday, I mean, things had really gotten out of control. So very thankful that we didn't get over there and get quarantined coming back or get stuck in Costa Rica. So that was spring break. The plan was to extend spring break for another week to kind of figure out what we were going to do. And so they extended our spring break by a week. And then within that week, they told us that our classes would be held online for the remainder of the semester. So as a senior, it was a little heartbreaking. This semester's been really rough. It's been, I'm ready to graduate, ready to get out in the working world and kind of just get going. But my roommate's from Florida, so she had to go back home. My other best friend, she lives in North Carolina. So We all got separated very quickly, didn't really get to have our proper goodbyes
Mhm.
and finish out the semester together like we should have. But Zoom is a wonderful place. We've had lots of FaceTime meetings, lots of Zoom meetings. Um, so, I think our school did a great job of doing what was right, even though it was difficult. Um, it's been a very hard time just kind of realizing that this is it. Um, I graduated 2 Saturdays ago, and from my couch on YouTube, um, not many people can say that. So
Mhm.
I think in 20 years it'll be a good story to tell. Right now it's kind of sad, but um, we're hoping for a fall commencement, physical commencement, sometime in the fall when it is safe for people to return back and have our families. So crossing my fingers for that. But um, yeah, so I can only imagine being a graduating senior from high school.
Mhm.
I've at least had that one experience of being able to be with my friends in high school, and in college. We can still communicate, and we still kind of had that experience on YouTube. But there's only so much you can do when you can't give people hugs and take pictures and
Mhm.
just all the things. You know.
Of course. I appreciate your optimistic attitude during a difficult time. I mean, this is a once in a lifetime experience for you to celebrate those many long years of studying hard and working hard. But it seems like you have a positive attitude of the now. And, like you said, you have a story to tell in the future. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
I also
So
appreciate your time today. Thanks so much for being here. We love to hear your story, your insight about comparing home life to your time abroad and your significant moments in Belfast was interesting to me, and I'm sure it'll be interesting to listeners as well. So thanks so much for your time today.
thank you. Thank you for having me. If I can
Yeah.
just say anything, if you're scared to study abroad, just do it. My first time studying abroad, I'd never been in an airplane, never been more west than Kentucky, and I was going to a country that didn't speak English for a whole month, living with another family. So it was terrifying, but it was the best decision I've ever made. And then traveling to Ireland, a different part of the country, or a different part of different part of the world,
Hmm.
going from Latin America to Europe is a big jump.
Hmm.
So just do it. If you have questions, just ask people. But definitely get out. It's made me have a better appreciation for the United States, um, and just become a more rounded citizen. So
I love that. Thank you so much. I really do love that. I feel like there's resources out there and there's people to talk to. So yeah, just do it. Just go study abroad if you have the opportunity to do it. Thanks so much.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely. Yeah. And our listeners out there, you can listen to this episode on our Learn International YouTube channel. You can find information on our social media platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and of course YouTube with the hashtag LearnINTL. And look for more episodes such as this one with the Study Abroad story or other international educators in international education. So thanks again, and we hope all is the best as you move forward after your graduation.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.